Hi, welcome back. I'm Helen from Just Saying Mum. Those of you who watched my first vlog would be expecting me to be sat here with my son today, because I did promise I was going to interview him the same questions that I spoke to my daughter Georgia about, which was looking at what do teenagers, children want from their parents and what they don't want. However, Georgia, my daughter who I interviewed last time, came up with some really interesting points around, I don't want to say punishment because that sounds very strong, but issues around discipline and taking away her mobile phone. So she mentioned that quite a few times, so I thought I would bring in some experts who are sat with me today. I've got Sarah and Jane from BE Integrative Therapy, and they are teenage and adolescent and also preteen specialists. So they are rapidly becoming my new best friends and making me a much better parent to my children. So I'd like to say hi to Sarah and Jane. And I'd like to talk to them about really their view on my much shunned discipline procedure of taking away George's mobile phone, and perhaps looking at how I could look at this slightly different angle of discipline for her. So I'd like to really put that point to Sarah and Jane and see what their views are on disciplining children that are coming up to almost being an adult, and how we would feel if someone took our mobile phone away. I know how I'd feel, so I can only just imagine how Georgia and other teens may feel. So, Sarah, Jane, thank you so much for joining me today. Really excited to have you here. I'm going to kind of hand it over to you to talk about what could I do differently? What is your view on that whole mobile phone problem?
Well, I think the first thing that Jane and I really thought about when you spoke to us about that was it's such a common thing. We're both parents ourselves as well, and the mobile phone really is a massive, massive issue. You're 100% right. And I think when something comes up like that, the extreme reaction that seems to have in the child is universal. Okay. And we were really talking about why it is such a massive thing for them. And also then the sort of interesting issue is, because it's such a massive reaction that you tend to get, does that actually make it the perfect punishment?
I know.
Punishment is a really harsh word. You said that yourself.
It is.
And most decent parents obviously care for their children. Of course they do. But it's where sort of care becomes control almost. And 9 times out of 10, that grab the phone, you're not having your phone, is a knee-jerk reaction.
Yes, I'd be the first to admit that, and I do afterwards think, oh, was that the right thing to do? But you grab it thinking, right, that's it, take the phone, and then regret it.
You do.
But why do I regret it?
Exactly. And despite, I think, what we think, a lot of the time the children are on the phone, they're not necessarily doing what we think they're doing. They're not just necessarily idling away time, socialising with their friends. Yes, that is a lot of what they do, but it's not always that. And the phone has become such a sort of integral part.
Sorry, I think I need to just eating the notes. We have a dog on the lap here. We have Lamoni.
Introduce the therapy dog.
Yeah, so any rustling of papers is definitely a Lamoni. Sorry.
No, we were saying that the phone is such an integral part of children's lives these days, and the more sophisticated phones become, the more they will be running our lives, not just our children's lives, our lives as well.
So not just using it to contact their friends. You're saying
no, it's not.
It's a big
it is
part
the primary
of them.
source of communication these days. And you touched on it again. You would know how you would feel if somebody just randomly said to you, "I'm taking your phone away."
Because it is such a big part of who you are.
You would feel vulnerable. You would feel lost.
Because you don't just use it for contacting friends. You've got music on there.
Exactly.
You've got your planner on there.
Exactly. That's what we said. And it's it is an important way of staying in touch with your friends or seeing what's going on. But it's not just that. You know, children use it to blog other people. They use it to look at stuff that they find inspiring. They can do independent research on it. You know, a lot of perhaps their homework and their private study will revolve around their phone. They might use it as a personal organiser.
I'd like to ask my children, are they using it for all those things as well?
Do you think you'd get an honest answer?
I think they will definitely be saying, yes, we use it for all of those things and never phoning our friends.
Of course they do.
Of course, I know.
But even if you take that, do you want to isolate your child?
No,
Probably not.
I don't.
You're not doing it for for that reason, are you?
No, you're
You're
right.
not doing
I
it
don't.
for that reason at all.
Okay.
So it's just a case, I think, of taking a deep breath, taking a step back.
Okay, and not reacting too quickly.
I mean, obviously, this is all generic here. We're not talking about a specific issue with a child that's done something. You know, it might even be something that didn't even relate to the phone.
Okay. Yes. No. 9 times out of 10 it is. Yes. Okay. Yes.
But it does mean so much to them. That's where I've said, you know, does it become almost a perfect punishment because you know it's the one thing that they really, really don't want you to do. But does that make it a good thing to do? I don't necessarily think it does.
No, I understand what you're saying. I agree with most of what you're saying as well.
Schools communicate with children through their phones these days.
They do.
Out of school clubs.
I think one of the things to realise as well is, I mean, I've done it before, and you have this knee-jerk reaction, you take the phone away, you walk out, and you find yourself getting really angry with yourself because you've had that reaction.
Yes.
And your child is sat there really angry.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that my son uses his phone for music an awful lot of the time, and music is good to relax, it's good to be able to just lose yourself a little bit, and the whole point is that both parties need to calm down, take a deep breath, because you have to keep those lines of communication open, and the only way that you can do that is to keep calm, unfortunately.
Okay.
And as the parent, you do need to kind of take the lead on that and show them that that is the best way to actually sort of take the heat out of the situation.
It's not always very easy to do that, and I think
absolutely not.
You know, it is hard when emotions are running high to kind of step back from that. It is
some of the
hard.
other conversations we've had with you, obviously, where you said, but ultimately I am the parent,
Yes.
and I do need to be allowed to be the parent, and sometimes it does have to be my decision. So yes, you're 100% right with that as well.
Okay,
But
so if we recognise the mobile phone is a huge part of who the children are and how they interact with the world around them. It's very different from when we were children. We didn't have that. So what would you, from your expert opinion, what would you think would be perhaps a better way with dealing with a child that is approaching adulthood? How would you feel that might be a better approach to, I don't want to say punishment, I suppose discipline, I suppose really an approach to better parenting them in a situation you're not happy with?
I guess there has to be, I mean, there will always have to be sanctions. At the end of the day, you are the parent. But I think it's important to start to teach them good life skills in terms of, you know, issues and disputes will come up in the workplace when they're there. They will always have somebody that they have to report into. And it's about understanding how to communicate with somebody. And we have to lead them down that road of being able to take that step back, to take a breather, discuss with them that you want to treat them like an adult. They are nearly an adult. The respect goes both ways. You are giving them that respect. Therefore, you expect that back.
Respect back, yes.
And saying to them, you know, how do you want to approach this? Because it's not going to go away. We need to discuss it. We need to actually get to the bottom of it. Can we go out and chat about it? You tell me when you think you've got time to be able to do that. But it's about keeping those lines of communications open, treating them like an adult, giving them respect, so that you can then actually demand that respect back. You know,
because that way you're still dealing with the issue. You're making them understand there are consequences, perhaps, for what they've done. You know, you're not happy about it. There is an issue.
Yeah,
it does need to be addressed. You're not, you know, that by just ignoring it for a couple of days, Mum's not going to suddenly forget it happened.
No, not at all.
And it's all going to be okay. But it's a case of, look, you know that this issue has arisen. I know it. We've fallen out over it. But actually, we now need to really talk about how we're going to resolve it
together as adults.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think what you've raised today is a really good point, and I think my children will also really appreciate this, and they're bound to rewind. That sounds very old-fashioned. They're bound to play this back to me time and time and time again, saying, "See, the right discipline isn't to take my phone away, Mum." So I think they're going to love Sarah and Jane as well.
There might be an occasion where it is, depending on what's happened, and if it is something centred specifically around the phone,
yes,
it might well.
But in general,
normally, children. Given the time, and you, Jane particularly brought this up about just actually choosing the moment as well for them. Everyone needs to calm down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Normally, children will sort of pretty much come in line with what's discussed, won't they, and what's been decided.
I think so. I think it's.
I think they're sort of going to know that something's going to have to give here somewhere, and whether it's future behaviour that they have to agree on, you know, standards of what happens next, and
Yes,
you know,
I think
It's leading
you're
by
right.
example.
It
This
is.
thing of just say it because
yes,
I
leading by
say,
example. I
you
know, not always easy to do.
No, it's not.
It's not. And we're not saying it's easy to be a parent. That's why I've pulled in Sarah and Jane. But I think hopefully, I think girls, thank you. I think that's kind of touched on perhaps how we should be approaching teenagers that are becoming very close to kind of 18 adulthood. And I think communication and chat and taking that deep breath probably is the right way forward. I feel I've learned a lot today, and I hope anyone else who is struggling with that discipline with teens perhaps also has learned a lot from Sarah and Jane. And I will be bringing Sarah and Jane in a lot with a lot of the issues around my blogs and my vlogs to give some hopefully some quality advice as opposed to me just ranting about what they've done wrong. So thank you ever so much. There will be details at the bottom of the vlog with Sarah and Jane's details on them if you want to get in touch with them individually. But thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Bye.